Brittany Drexel disappeared during spring break in Myrtle Beach, a resort town in South Carolina on the Atlantic coast, in April 2009. On the night of April 25th to 26th, 2009, 17-year-old Brittany Drexel left a hotel in Myrtle Beach, where she was staying during spring break with a group of friends. On the evening of April 25th, the girl went to another hotel nearby, where her friend was staying. This was the last time Brittany was seen and generally the last information about her that was known at the time of her disappearance. After more than a decade of searching, in 2022, the mystery of the disappearance of 17-year-old Brittany Drexel was finally solved. Brittany Drexel was born in Rochester, New York, on October 7, 1991. Brittany's parents were teenagers and unmarried when she was born. After Brittany was born, her mother Dawn stopped dating Brittany's biological father and later married Chad Drexel, who adopted the girl. Brittany was blind in one eye since childhood. In order to hide this defect, she wore contact lenses, which gave her eyes an unusual blue color. In April 2009, Brittany asked her mother to allow her to go with her friends and other students to the resort town of Myrtle Beach in South Carolina for spring break. But her mother refused the girl because she did not know all her friends well enough. Besides, they were not accompanied by adults, and in general, she considered such a trip unsafe. A standard conflict situation that so often happens between teenagers and adults in the family led to an argument between them for several days. After failing to get permission to go to the beach with her friends on April 22, 2009, Brittany asked her mother if she could visit a friend for a few days, and Dawn agreed. But instead, Brittany left for South Carolina that same day without telling her mother. 3 days later, after arriving at the Bar Harbor Hotel in Myrtle Beach with other students, Brittany called her mother and said she was already at the beach. Her mother was not alarmed, as she assumed Brittany was referring to the beach along the Ontario coast where her friend lived, since the temperature in the Rochester area had risen to an unusual 82 degrees that day. Around 8 p.m. on April 25, 2009, Brittany left her friends at the Bar Harbor Beach Hotel, where they were having fun, and walked along the beachfront to the Blue Water Hotel, about 2 kilometers away from the hotel where she was staying to visit a friend. Security cameras at the Blue Water recorded her entering the hotel. At the time, Brittany was wearing a black and white top, flip-flops, and shorts, and was carrying a beige bag. The cameras also recorded her leaving, which occurred at 8:45 p.m. Throughout the evening, Brittany had been texting her boyfriend, John Greco, who was in the Rochester area for work and was unable to join Brittany on her short trip. Around 9:15 p.m., Brittany's texts stopped coming in. Brittany also did not answer his calls. A little later, John began calling Brittany's friends in Myrtle Beach to find out where she was and why she was not answering his calls and texts. However, none of her friends knew where she was, nor could they contact her. When these efforts were unsuccessful, John called Brittany's mother, who had no idea that her daughter was in Myrtle Beach. The parents, having learned everything, immediately contacted the Rochester police, hoping that they would be able to contact their colleagues in South Carolina to organize a search for their daughter. Meanwhile, calls and texts to Brittany's phone went unanswered. The Myrtle Beach police, having received information from their colleagues and the girl's parents, began searching for Brittany Drexel the next morning. They seized surveillance footage from the Blue Water Hotel, interviewed possible witnesses, and found that the last person to see Brittany before she left the hotel was Peter Brozowitz, a 20-year-old nightclub promoter Brittany had previously known, also from Rochester and apparently vacationing in Myrtle Beach. He explained that they had met at a local nightclub the night before. After interviewing Brozowitz and the friends he was staying with at the hotel, police said, "No one has been ruled out as a suspect." Police also searched the hotel room where Brittany had been staying. All of her belongings were in place except for a small beige purse and the girl's pink cell phone. Police requested cell phone activity data from the girl's phone. The data indicated movement along a route leading south for a distance of 50 to 60 miles from Myrtle Beach to the area between Georgetown and Charleston along Highway 17. The phone stopped sending a signal early in the morning of April 26th. For 11 days, a search was conducted along the route of the phone's signal toward Georgetown, as well as in Myrtle Beach and its surrounding areas. However, no trace of the girl or witnesses who would have seen her were found. Brittany's mother, Dawn, arrived in Myrtle Beach the day after her daughter's disappearance and eventually moved there permanently to be closer to where Brittany was last seen, to participate in the search herself, and to monitor the investigation from her side. The search for Brittany involved not only the police, but also the girl's friends, acquaintances, and simply concerned people. Stories about the girl's disappearance appeared in the media, on local channels, and in newspapers. In an interview dedicated to the 5th anniversary of the disappearance, Dawn expressed her theory that Brittany may have gone to Myrtle Beach, despite her parents' prohibition, because she was promised something very interesting, such as a modeling job. Dawn believed that her daughter may have become a victim of human trafficking. However, the Myrtle Beach police did not consider this version worthy of attention. After years of fruitless searching, the FBI held a press conference in June 2016, announcing their leading theory that Brittany Drexel was murdered shortly after she disappeared. They believed she was abducted from Myrtle Beach and taken to some location near Georgetown, near where her cell phone signals went missing. The Bureau offered a $25,000 reward for any information leading to solving the case. 2 months after that press conference, also in 2016, the Charleston Post reported on the events of Timothy Taylor's unrelated sentencing hearing. At the time, Taylor was already serving a state prison sentence. At the hearing, an FBI agent named Garrick Munoz testified and stated that a certain Taquan Brown, another inmate sentenced to 25 years for murder, told the FBI agents that in 2009, shortly after Brittany Drexel disappeared, on one of the days roughly coinciding with the time of her disappearance, he met with Timothy Taylor's father at his home. Walking through the house, Brown said that he saw Taylor in the company of Brittany Drexel. Brittany, so to speak, was there against her will, and something illegal and beyond the bounds of normal human behavior was done to her. Seeing this, he hurried past and headed into the yard, where he found Taylor's father and talked to him about his criminal affairs. During their conversation, he heard screams, which he later learned was due to Brittany trying to escape the house. A short time later, he heard 2 gunshots. Brown's statement, according to FBI agent Munoz, was partially corroborated by information received from another informant, who was not identified but was described as an inmate at the Georgetown County Jail. According to the second inmate, Taylor picked up Drexel in Myrtle Beach and took her to his place. But when the case attracted much media attention, Taylor may have decided to kill Brittany Drexel to avoid arrest. In June 2017, Taylor took a lie detector test while answering questions about Brittany's disappearance. Some of the polygraph answers were flagged by the FBI as false. However, no new evidence or proof of Taylor's involvement in Brittany's kidnapping was ever obtained. Investigators from 2009 to 2022 had no evidence-based versions of Brittany's disappearance. They never identified those involved in her disappearance or knew what really happened to the girl. In early May 2022, Raymond Moody, a 62-year-old convicted sex offender, turned himself in to the Georgetown County Sheriff's Office. Moody confessed to the crime and provided the location of Brittany's remains. The FBI excavated the site Moody provided for 3 days. The remains were discovered approximately 4 kilometers from the motel where Moody was staying on the day Brittany disappeared. On October 19, 2022, Raymond Moody pleaded guilty to the kidnapping and murder of Brittany Drexel. He was sentenced to life in prison for murder and an additional 30 years for the kidnapping and rape. After more than a decade, the mysterious disappearance of 17-year-old Brittany Drexel has finally been solved.